You know those tales of bungee jumping gone wrong? Yeah, I thought they were just urban legends too. That was until I decided to take the plunge myself. Life had always been a whirlwind, but lately it felt like a tornado tearing through everything I held dear. The demands of my high-powered job in a bustling metropolis left me with little time for my family. My wife, Sarah, and I had once been inseparable, but the relentless pressure of everyday life had chipped away at our connection. Our love had turned into a mere routine, and the arguments had become more frequent, more toxic. Late-night meetings and early morning conference calls had become the norm. My kids, Lisa and Marco, grew distant, their laughter echoing less often through our home. I tried to make up for my absence with lavish gifts and weekend excursions, but I was merely patching up the cracks with band-aids. One evening, after another heated spat that had ended with slammed doors and shattered glass, I found myself walking the lonely streets of our neighborhood. I needed air, space to think, to escape the confines of a crumbling marriage. The weight of our unresolved issues was crushing, and with each step, my frustration grew. As I wandered aimlessly, my mind a tumultuous storm of regrets and frustrations, I stumbled upon an advertisement for an adventure weekend. Bungee jumping, it promised, a chance to leave everything behind, if only for a moment. The thought gnawed at me, a desperate attempt to rediscover the parts of myself that had been lost in the chaos of life. Without even realizing, I texted my old friend Fred, my confidant, the one who had been my rock through thick and thin. We had shared countless adventures in our youth, road trips to nowhere, camping in the middle of nothing, and that unforgettable backpacking trip through Europe. Fred had always been the one who brought out the spontaneous side of me, the side that had been buried beneath the weight of adult responsibilities. His response was instantaneous, a resounding "I'm in," but we both needed this break from reality, a chance to reconnect and find ourselves again. The weekend couldn't come soon enough, and then the day arrived. The bridge loomed before us, an imposing yet exhilarating structure suspended over a deep, rocky gorge. The scenery was breathtaking, a stark contrast to the troubles we were leaving behind. I could feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins as I stood on the edge, Sarah's resentful words still echoing in my mind. Fred clapped me on the back, a reassuring grin on his face. "You ready, Alex?" I nodded, forcing a smile. "Yeah, I need to do this." The instructor went through the safety protocols, and my heart raced as I realized the moment of truth was approaching. Fred and I stood side by side, nerves and excitement intertwining. As the countdown began, I glanced at him, and we shared a nod. In unison, we leaped off the edge, our shouts carried away by the wind. And then it happened. The initial freefall was exhilarating, a fleeting taste of freedom that swept away the weight of my troubles. The wind roared in my ears, drowning out the cacophony of worries that had plagued me for months. For those precious seconds, it was just Fred and me, suspended between earth and sky, with nothing but the rush of adrenaline binding us together. But as the bungee cords reached their limit, reality began to distort. It started as a subtle shimmering at the edges of my vision, a trick of the mind that I dismissed as a product of my heightened state. However, the unease grew like a knot in my stomach, and panic clawed its way up my throat. As the world around us twisted and warped, colors became a frenzied whirlwind, merging and clashing in a chaotic dance. The ground below stretched into impossible shapes, and the sky above fragmented like a shattered mirror. I tore my gaze from the surreal panorama to look at Fred, hoping for some reassurance in his eyes. Except, we didn't stop descending. Fear wrapped its icy fingers around my heart as I realized that something was horribly, terrifyingly wrong. The laws of physics, of reality itself, had been shattered. The bungee cords that should have rebounded us were no longer taut, but instead extended infinitely, dragging us further into this nightmarish abyss. As we plummeted through the gaping maw of the void, my desperation swelled like a stormy sea. I clung to Fred, his grip on my hand the lone lifeline anchoring me in this ever-shifting reality. Day folded into night, and the passage of time became as malleable as the contorted scenery around us. We were adrift in a dimension where the laws of nature had frayed into impossibility. Even though everything was pitch black, we could still see as if we had all the light we needed. Fred's infectious laughter, the very sound that had carried us through countless escapades, was now but a haunting echo. His once vibrant spirit had dimmed, like a fading ember robbed of its fire. His gaze, once brimming with mischief and camaraderie, had turned hollow, as if his consciousness were slipping through the cracks of this fragmented existence. I screamed his name, a primal plea to seize him from the clutches of this eldritch descent, but my voice seemed to unravel into the cacophony of the swirling abyss around us. Amidst the surreal chaos, I clung to my phone, a fragile link to the world I had left behind. Its inexplicable battery level, frozen at 71%, became my sole connection to a semblance of normalcy. I etched marks on the fabric of time, using the device to anchor me to reality even as reality itself warped beyond recognition. Desperately, I turned to the vast expanse of the internet, hoping to find someone who could help untangle the mystery that had entrapped us. However, the replies were few and far between. The people I once knew, my wife, my kids, didn't even know I existed anymore. The familiar world I had known, along with its intricate web of human connections, had unraveled into an inexplicable puzzle, ensnaring me within this cosmic void. And so, if by some extraordinary chance you are reading this, heed my plea. If you've experienced the enigma that's overtaken my life, reach out across this void and connect our worlds. I'm unraveling, my sense of self slipping like grains of sand through an open hand. My faithful friend Fred is fading, his presence diminishing like a distant star swallowed by the night. I stand at the edge of complete isolation, ready to fall endlessly through this shattered reality, devoured by the insatiable grasp of the void. This could be my last words. Please, help.